Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to complete a 1003 application. It's also called a Uniform Residential Loan Application. When applying for a private money loan at FK Capital Fund, we will eventually finalize the 1003 ourselves and send back for your signature. For informational purposes though, this video will encompass whether you're applying for our loan or any other loan. Now to start, the loan amount. This doesn't really need to be completed. But if you wanted to complete it to show us your goal as a loan amount, that's fine. Complete that information, even the interest rate, the term, etc. We will eventually finalize that number, give you terms, etc. And then our final application that we send you for signature will have the final loan amount that we're going for. Of course, the address, self-explanatory. Number of units and year built. It's very common for people to leave that blank. Please fill in, and we will complete that information for our investors, and we can get that from public records, but the more thorough you are, the quicker your application will be processed. Next you have here, tell us what kind of loan you're trying to do. Most of the time we'll actually have a conversation before this point, so we'll know, but again, not in all cases, whether it's purchase or refinance. This is very important. Primary residence or investment property or second home. Now 99% of our loans are for investment properties. That's all we really do. Most private money lenders, pretty much all of them, only do investment properties. Now, if we got a 1003 that said primary residence, was clicked, and then they say, oh, it's a mistake, it was an investment property. We're going to be very wary of that applicant. Same thing with Bank of America would. If it's clicked investment property, but they're telling Bank of America it's primary residence, they're going to be very wary. So just make sure that's accurate. Now, this is very common for people to leave this blank, but we will complete it. And if it's completed already, it's that much easier, and your application will go that much quicker. So complete all this information here. Next, most of the time it's obviously your first and last name. But there are times where it's an LLC or a corporation, and if it is, we will obviously need articles of organization, operating agreement, all the corresponding documents. Now we have the borrower's information. Very self-explanatory. Fill in all this information. Now, we don't really need to know the dependents or the years in school, but Bank of America will, so just on a rule of thumb basis, I recommend always completing that information when applying for a loan. Now this is very common for people to miss this. They don't check the box whether they own it or rent it and how long they've been there. We want to know that. If you say you've rented the property, we will want to know how long you've been there. If you've only been there for 2 years or less than 2 years, we want to know your former address as well. Maybe you have a P.O. box, you can list that as well. With the employment. Now, sometimes people will list their employer and all this information, but they won't put an address. Or they won't list how long they've been in this line of work. They've been in the job for 2 years and they've been on the line of work for how long? Just fill in all this information. It is important. If you don't fill it in, we will ask. It just takes time. Now in regard to the co-borrower information, the borrower and co-borrower section of this is for married couples. If it's 2 brothers or 2 friends, it needs to be on 2 separate 1003 applications. Now, if you have 2 companies, maybe 2 employers, whatever it is, you can list that here. Or if you've only been on the job for less than 2 years, we want to list your previous job too. Now, on to monthly income and housing expense. Some people will bunch up all their income into this section and not break it down into dividends and rental income and social security or disability or whatever it is. We want to see it broken down, and we want to see, Bank of America want to see it broken down too. Sometimes people will list other income but don't tell us what it is. This section is for telling us what it is. If you list $5,000 here and you get some from social security, some from disability, some from an annuity maybe, we want to know that. Now this is probably the most common mistake that brokers and borrowers make. This section is for just your current primary residence, where you're living, whether you're renting or you own. Some people think that they need to combine it all together. Same thing with this. This is for the subject property's proposed new mortgage expense. Whether it's a primary residence, it would be pretty similar to this one, or whether it's a different property. This is the primary residence where the borrower lives. Okay, now we have earnest money deposit. This is for a purchase. This is what you deposited into the escrow company here, the amount there. Now we have the assets. Assets are very important. It's important for it to be accurate too. Some people will bunch everything together. Some people will put just the dollar amount like this without any bank. You want to have the bank and the dollar amount minimum, but in being thorough, what I recommend is a good thing. Bank, address, account number, dollar amount. Not a big deal if you just had the bank name and the dollar amount though. Same thing with stocks and bonds. If you say you have $100,000 in stocks and bonds, well, where is it held? Fidelity Investments, you tell us. Life insurance, retirement fund, business owned, etc. This is very commonly be left blank, automobiles or other assets. The idea with all this is to get a good net worth. We want to see your true net worth. If you have a $100,000 Mercedes, we want that to be included in your total net worth. Now when it comes to these liabilities, some banks like Bank of America will auto-populate the liabilities from your credit report. We won't. We actually don't pull a report until towards the end of the process. For the beginning of the process, we require a credit report, and when sending us this 1003, it's smart to have it completed yourself. If you don't do it, we will. It's just going to take more time. The more time we have to spend on it, the longer it'll take. Okay, moving on to the schedule of real estate. It's pretty straightforward. The address, whether it's pending sale or rental, type of property, and you can follow along here. This net rental income, this number, if this was your total schedule of real estate, this $100 should show up on your income section here. So if you have, say, a couple properties and you get a net rental income of $500, that's the number that should show, and it should be accurate. If you don't make this accurate, we eventually will, and when we go through our program, we have to do the calculations, and it is smarter and better and quicker for you to have this completed thoroughly, and it won't take you that long. If you need more room, which is very common, there's a page on the back for more information here. Same if you need more room for other types of income. Any information that needs can go there. Now, if you have a really large portfolio, I strongly recommend putting it onto an Excel spreadsheet, because one of the things that we will want to know is when you bought it and what you paid for it, especially if you've recently purchased the property. So these are just some pointers and tips. Next, the declarations. All these need to be answered. If you leave one blank, we will ask you, and if you have an 800 credit score and you left this blank, we're going to have to ask you if you have any judgments against you. We would assume that you don't with that kind of credit score, but it's not mandatory, and we will need to know that. Moving on, the last section here is the government monitoring. It's for making sure that banks aren't discriminated against. You don't have to complete it. You can if you want. It's not a big deal. You do not need to sign this. As like I said, we will send you out a final copy. So that's it. That's how you complete a residential loan application, 1003. And see us next time.